We're here at Christians Against Poverty and I have a new guest in front of me. So let's start with a nice easy one. What is your name and what do you do here at Christians Against Poverty in Bradford?
So I'm Alex Jones. I'm the Director of Fundraising at Christians Against Poverty, yeah.
Okay, so Director of Fundraising, so basically trying to get people to fund the support of the work that Christians Against Poverty do?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the quite unique things about CAP is, especially in the advice space, is that 70% of our income comes from people, individuals. So, and kind of a big chunk of that, about 45% of that, is from people giving on a monthly basis, often quite small amounts, but we have around 30,000 supporters that give every month, and then we have other people that give us one-offs and trusts and grants and other things like that. So, you know, we are very much a movement and very much a kind of group of Christians Against Poverty. That's very much who we are. It's not an organisation, it's not a building, it's not the church, it's a movement of people that are using their faith to try and impact and change things for people in very vulnerable and challenging situations. So it's a privilege to kind of really inspire and support those that are trying to make that happen through their giving or through their prayer or through their using their voice or their time to make a difference, yeah.
I think one of the interesting parts of what you just said is the number of people I've spoken to today who talk about there's an awful lot to do, and yet a lot of people doing that little bit suddenly adds up, which is what you're talking about with the finance in particular. Is you don't have one person giving everything, you have 30,000 people giving all sorts, and actually that's quite a nicely sustainable model from a financial perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference, and it's what over the years has helped us to be sustainable. It's helped us to kind of be able to share the holistic aspect of our faith, not just helping people in financial challenges and distress, but also being able to kind of bring people out of isolation, help them to be welcomed into community, helping them to kind of restore the image of God in them, and to kind of that community aspect, that the local church in those places. We've been able to do that because thousands of people over nearly 30 years have given faithfully and regularly to this work, and without that, none of this would be possible.
What brought you to CAP then? I mean, I'm guessing you're based out of this office. I asked that because I chatted to Alison Berry, who I knew, who's not a relative, by the way, just saying again, who's from the southeast. So you're based out of this office?
Yeah, most of the time I'm here in Bradford, which is where CAP began. I'm sure you've already heard that, but the story of John Kirkby and his small little home office 30 years ago, having experienced it himself, and a £10 donation, and that's where it all started. But yeah, what brought me to CAP? So I knew CAP for a number of years. I have had friends and family that were engaged and related. My church was engaged, but I'd worked for a big international development charity before that, and had been really involved in a lot of work in the international space where really extreme poverty was at place, but there was something that had kind of hooked me that was around trying to support something in my own community and some of the people that I would actually meet in my own street and in my own kind of walk of life, and wanting to do something that would help that, and really bringing the faith aspect into that too.
Fundraising is one of those things that people can either go, it's money, or they can go, it's money. And I think there are two sets of people, two perspectives on that. And I remember many, many years ago, someone said, look, it's not just about giving, actually, it's about enabling people to have the honour of walking alongside you by giving. And when we had our business, it was a business. We had to make money out of it in 2009-10, but at the same time, it was also a Christian ministry for us. And a few people said, look, we have no time to help you. We have no real resources in that sense, but what we do have is money and not quite sure what to do with it. Can we please bless you with some money and thank you for the honour of letting us do it? And it was one of the most humbling things I've ever had. It's completely transformed my life from a perspective of how we think about money.
Yeah. Because
they were saying, well, we can't help you with our time, but we can help you with our money, which is all that God's given us, and please would you let us give you some money?
I mean, all that fundraising is people trying to put some of their resource behind the things that they want to see change in the world. Yeah. So, exactly what you're saying. It's like, actually, this is a way that I can do something. This is a way that I can try and change something about an issue or something about the challenges that people are facing, and giving my money is one way to do that. Giving time is another way to do that. Bringing your prayer and using your voice and encouraging others. Actually going, hey, look, have you heard of this organisation that are doing this? Maybe there's something you could get involved in here too. And I think I talked a bit earlier about being a movement of Christians against poverty, and I think some of that means that maybe you're able to use money to help make that happen. But we're wanting to see change in people's lives. We want to see people having dignity restored and hope restored and an opportunity to thrive and live a full life with Jesus, not just to kind of be kind of broken out of debt or something like that. There's something so much more powerful and holistic that happens through this process, and it doesn't happen for every organisation that's providing free debt help, but it does happen through the local church and through those people. And so whenever anyone gives, that's how I see fundraising. They're giving to try and make that happen, to make that change happen in the lives of someone, and that's a brilliant thing to give because people just you see that transformation, that change, and I'm privileged enough to see it, and I'm just really just grateful to everyone that has. So if you're listening and you are giving to Christians Against Poverty, then thank you so much on behalf of all those that are being changed and have hope now and have a community now, because you're giving. You've made that change happen. It's not me, it's not anyone else. You've done that.
I think anything that's free isn't free in the world. It's just one of the realities of life. I said this earlier, we run a free radio station because you can access it for free. It's not free because we have to pay for it. But we don't charge you for the privilege of listening because it's not how it works. But things do cost money, and running CAP costs money, which means you need to have staff to manage stuff. It was really fascinating chatting to, I think it was Susan, not Susie, but she's somebody who 10 years ago came through to CAP, I'm in debt, help me. And then Yvette, who was a local helper, came along to walk alongside her and help with the debt and all that. But that comes about with something, and Yvette said, well, CAP give me support. Alison talked about how she supports churches who run people just like Yvette, who help them to understand what they can do in resource. And all of that costs money, and volunteering is great, but only has so much of so much legs. But that's why raising money is important, because it's helping people like, I'm going to say Susie or Susan, I've forgotten, I'm really sorry. But it helps people like that because, well, as Liz was talking about, that she has the expertise when someone rings in to know, well, they can't do that, and but that expertise costs money somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things that we offer the local church. So one of the wonderful, hopefully you've heard this already today, but one of the really wonderful and unique things about how CAP works is that some of the most powerful stuff happens in the local community, where there's a local church walking alongside people, where you've got Yvette or someone else like that that's kind of walking alongside, and often the people that we're working with are isolated, they're alone. Around half of our clients have considered committing suicide or attempted suicide before they've sought help. So, people are that isolated and that damaged by what's going on in their lives that they've often given up. And someone coming and walk alongside you brings that hope, brings that community, and that's powerful. And that's where all the wonderful stuff really happens. A big part of the wonderful stuff happens, but that's not possible without the expert debt advice that people here in Bradford and in Scotland and other parts of the UK provide, because that does cost money. That is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. That is something that you need to be expert, you need to be trained in many years to be able to do that. So someone like Liz, who's spent many years doing that support for people, and we take that burden away from the church, so that they can do the wonderful thing of walking alongside and loving and bringing community, and that does cost money, but it's such a wonderful impact that happens as a result, because so many times people find community, their dignity is restored. For many of our clients, they find a faith too, they find hope, but also quite often a number of our clients go on to help others. There's a generational impact that not just impacts their family and their community, but they'll go on and bring that support to us. So many stories of people that have gone on to become debt coaches, gone on to become befrienders, gone on to kind of run a food bank or something else, and bring that experience that they've had to someone else, because they walked it, they've understood it, they've got that experience, they've come out the other side, and they're bringing that hope to others, and that's what people's giving makes happen, and it's a beautiful thing.
Two things. One, I love the fact you ring people up to check on them and to offer to pray for them if they're one of your supporters. That was quite a good shock to hear, the level of commitment to people who are supporting CAP, who then go on to support people who support CAP, and it's that beautiful circle. Not a circle of life, not doing Lion King, but it is that thing of helping people who help people, and it works. It's like driving down through traffic lights and letting people in. They let somebody else in. I've watched it happen sometimes, and our little act of kindness can have a huge knock-on effect, like ripples in a lake. But I love the fact that you're actually praying for people and ringing them up and making sure how you're doing, are you okay? The question I've liked asking this, I think you might be the last one today to ask it too, but what makes you want to come to work at CAP every day?
It's knowing that there are people right now that are so isolated, so burdened by the difficulties that they have. Many of them initially financial, but there's deeper stuff going on there. Maybe a relationship breakdown, maybe there's complex mental health challenges, maybe there's an eviction notice that they're being hounded by people being chased for their debts. There's a whole host of stuff, and knowing that actually that how they feel about themselves has probably got so small that people are considered suicide at that moment, but knowing that there is hope and there's something else, that there's a God who loves them, that wants them to thrive and fully live their sort of life, and we can help make that happen by showing up at work every day. Whilst I might not be the person that's walking into that home and walking alongside someone, I know that my work is making that impact. It is seeing that transformation happen. And for thousands of people, tens of thousands of people each year, hope is arriving through someone's kind of door in homes that have often no one has crossed the threshold for years, and community is being found, and hope is being restored, and dignity is being restored, and the image of God is being restored in people, and that is well worth putting the alarm on for 6:15 every morning and getting up and getting on my bike and cycling into the office, because that's what it's about.
Thank you. You requested a specific song, which I'll let you introduce. I might be able to squeeze one more person in, possibly, we'll see. But for now, would you want to introduce this song that you requested?
Yeah, so it's Talking About Revolution by Tracy Chapman. There's a line around people standing in the unemployment lines and just about how the kind of world and society needs to change, and she wrote it and sang it several years ago, I can't remember how long, but it still seems as relevant today as it did then. And that as you listen to it, as you've heard everything that you've heard today, if you feel like you can support our work, you can come alongside those that are in the situation that you hear from, and as it resonates with whatever Tracy Chapman's singing, then I please do encourage you to give, come and join in. Maybe you can give monthly, maybe you can give a one-off, but if you do that on our website at capuk.org/pure247, and we'd be incredibly grateful for your support. But as you listen to Tracy Chapman, just think about all those that are changed and transformed by his work, that need that hope right now.
The June issue of Pure Media, the magazine, comes out on Friday the 7th of June, with a whole host of international writers speaking on life, faith, sports, technology, joy and more, from our family to yours. In the June edition, we shine the spotlight on Sherry Seligson, a marine biologist from Florida, and Chris Kerr, who helps us focus and celebrate on dads. Sign up today and enjoy all of this and more at www.puremediathemagazine.com.